Geometry nodes just got a whole lot easier in Blender thanks to the new 5.0 update. They've added a bunch of preset node groups that you can apply as simple to use modifiers. In this video, we're going to go through all those new modifiers and then see how you can create a simple environment system using these modifiers almost immediately. And as an added bonus, I'm also going to show you this new technique I learned on how to create a mesh using the alpha of an image, perfect for creating things like plants. So with that being said, let's dive in and get started. This video has been sponsored by Storyblocks. Let's take a look at how we can utilize the scatter on surface here to create an environment system here. Now, before we get started, I'm actually going to be giving away some of these objects I used for free. So I'm going to give away one of these trees and some of these yarn grass blades here. Great for creating a stylized crafty scene. So here you can see I have a simple scene set up here. And what I'm going to do is grab this grassy area here, going to add our modifier, and we're looking for a scatter on surface. Now what the scatter on surface does is just scatter instances all across the selected object. And you can see here that we've gotten instances represented by these cubes by default all across our object that we've applied it to. Let's take a look at our settings here. Up here we can choose the density method. The amount allows you to set a custom amount of objects you want to appear. Most often you are going to use density, allowing you just to control the overall density at once there. I'm going to leave mine to a set value of 1. You can either set it to random or Poseidon disk. With Poseidon disk, you can actually set a minimum distance and make sure that you don't have objects colliding. Perfect if you have larger objects like trees or things like that. Below here, we have the keep surface toggle. And what this does is allow you to keep the object underneath. So for example here, I want the ground to remain visible, so I'll have this checked on. If I did not want that ground there, I could check that and it would hide the object that we are instancing on top of. Here we have the option for a distribution mask. And if we click this right here, we can actually click here and choose a vertex map. I've already made one called grass. You can see here that I've named that under there. And here I've decided where I want that grass to appear in my scene. You can also visualize this by going over to the weight paint selection. And you can see that I can paint to add in more grass if I want here. So this is a great way to add control over where you want to instance on your object. And down here, we have the instancing type. We can choose whether we want to instance an object or an entire collection. We can adjust the viewport visibility. We have a lot of grass in our scene. So as you can imagine, it could get laggy. So we can turn this down to save on performance. And down here, we have a transforming option. So we can surface offset if we want this to float off of our surface. We can align the rotation to our object here. You can see how some of these are aligning on the edge. And if I turn that off, they don't do that. And then we can adjust what direction they are aligning to. We come down here, we can turn on randomize, and this will randomize all of our objects. Now, before we hop into environments, I actually want to show you an awesome new method I learned on how to quickly create plants. What you want to do is grab an image texture. So I'm going to import a image and a mesh plane here. I'm going to choose my image texture here. Make sure that you have an alpha for this. Now, if I switch into material view here, you can see I have a leaf with a transparent background. Now I downloaded this leaf asset from Storyblocks, which is a perfect segue into our sponsor, which gives you unlimited downloads of high quality stock video, textures, music, sound effects, and more, all for one predictable subscription cost. It also has an easy licensing system so that you can use these in your projects without worry. Now, one thing I really love about Storybox is how it empowers you as an artist to produce content faster by providing assets that support you in your creative pipeline. I'm also a huge fan of the variety of plant assets they have, including things like trees, stylized options, and leaves. This makes it much quicker to produce things like ivy for your walls, or putting out fast to render trees in the background with 2D image planes, or to create plant assets to fill out foliage in your scene. Now, their library is created by real artists, so everything feels authentic and blends naturally into 3D scenes. And because it's unlimited, I can test and experiment freely without worrying about extra cost, which honestly just makes the whole creative process a lot more fun. If you'd like to take advantage of this amazing resource and get started with unlimited stock media downloads at one set price, check out the link in the description below. I'm going to switch over to geometry nodes and go in the top view here so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to click new and create a new geometry node system. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a image texture node in geometry nodes, and we're going to select our plant texture. We're going to grab the vector here, and we're going to plug this up into the group input. That'll create a field over here where we can select our UV map just like that. Now we're going to do a subdivision on our geometry. And let's bump this up to something high like 9. Now we're going to do a delete geometry and put this on our object. And by default, it's going to delete everything, and we need to pick a selection. So with all this setup, we can actually use the alpha from our image as the selection. And you'll see here that unfortunately, it's inverted. That's a simple fix, but we will create a map range node, drag this on top, and we just need to flip the top two values from 0 to 1, from 1 to 0. And now you can see we actually have a mesh of our plant. So I'm going to grab this and hit apply. And you can see that we've created a mesh of our plant, but it's extraordinarily dense. So we'll come here, add a modifier, look for a decimate modifier, and set this to something really small like 0.01. I'm going to apply, and as you can see, that's looking better. So what I'm going to do is actually grab some of these points here in the center, turn on the proportional editing up here. I'm going to hit G, Z, and just move this up, and give our leaf a bit of curve. Now I'm going to add another decimate modifier and just collapse this down just like that. And now we have a relatively low poly plant, all based from one image. And the great thing about this method, as opposed to just using an image, is now we can add a solidify modifier and actually get some depth to our plants that we want to place into our scene. We're going to return to this scene here, and I'm going to show you how I would build an environment system very simply using these new modifiers. I'm going to start by grabbing the ground where I want to apply the objects. I'm going to apply grass here. This fabric inside is supposed to represent kind of a swampy water. So I'm going to search over here, and we're going to look for a scatter on surface. Now we're going to change the instance type from object to collection. For the collection here, I'm going to search for grass, and I've placed all these grass blades into one collection here. Now when we zoom in here, we'll see that all the grass blades are on top of each other, which is not what we want, so make sure to turn on pick instance. Now I just need to up the density. So I'm going to set this quite high, something like 150. Next, what I'm going to do is turn up the density. I'm going to set mine to something really high, like 150. And I'm going to play with the viewport visibility here and just reduce this so that I'm not getting much viewport lag. So that's working perfectly. However, this is looking a bit too uniform. So what I'm going to do is come down here to the transform, turn on randomize, and I'm going to randomize the Z by 180 degrees and maybe set these others to about 5 degrees just to make the grass look a bit wobbly. I'm also going to change the scale variation to something like 0.15 just so that everything looks a little different. Great, and with this we have a simple grass system. So now we can actually just add another scatter on surface, and this time we will choose an object. And I'm going to choose that tree that you should find in the pack to download. So next, let's look at how we can add some trees here. I'm going to add another scatter on surface option here. I'm going to select the tree that I've provided in the download pack. And you can see there's far too many trees there. Since this is a bigger object, I don't really want these interacting with each other. So I'm actually going to use this mode here. And I'm going to set a minimum distance of about 5 meters between each other. And you can see automatically there how that's begun spreading trees around the scene without interacting in each other. I'm going to turn on the transform and the randomize option here. I'm going to randomize the Z by 360 degrees to get those to rotate around, change the scale by 0.25, and you can see how immediately we've begun getting a lot more variety. Now, if I switch to my camera view here over to rendered mode, you can see how now we've created a full environment of grass and trees that looks very natural on camera with just 2 simple modifiers. We're going to take a look at the array. We can apply this to our object as we would any other modifier. If I come here to add modifier generate, you'll see that now there's array legacy, which is the old one, and the new one here, which is geometry nodes based. If I click this, you can see that we get our settings over here. Now, before we dive into those settings, I want to show how complex these setups actually are. So you can see how much time we're saving by just bundling these geometry node presets rather than creating all of this from scratch. But let's take a look at the settings over here. Up here, we can determine the shape between line, circle, curve, and transform. We'll be going through all of these. A line, as you would imagine, creates a line. And you can choose your offset method to be relative to the shape of the object. You can offset it by a certain amount, or you can set the endpoint as just wherever you want that line to end. Now we can control everything from here, including the translation along every X, Y, and Z axis. We can change the rotation and how that occurs across every axis. And we can also change the scale value and how that will appear over time as well. It's also given us some easy to use gizmos. If I grab this yellow one here and drag it with the object selected, what that will do is add counts to the system over here. And then we can also use this gizmo here to affect the translation, scale, and more. So if I grab the rotate here, you can see how it is rotating along the Z as it goes down the line. Now, I will say that in this mode with the line mode, I found that these gizmos could be a bit finicky and not always easy to grab, especially when trying to work with the location. So just be aware of that it may be easier to input your values over here. And then down here, we have a randomize option. If I click this on, we can randomize the offset across any of the axis, rotation values, and scaling, which we can set to uniform or per axis. And we can also set to flip, giving us a little bit more randomization of the position of our objects. There's also options to exclude the first and the last, and to adjust your seeds down here to get varying results. Now, if we come up here, we can change to circle, which is one of the greatest features here. Now, the gizmo here allows you to click and drag. All this is doing is adjusting the radius value here. We can also choose what axis we want this to occur on, and we can determine the count here as well. Checking align rotation down here will make it so that your objects align to the rotation of the circle array, and you can also change the axis on which they do that. Now up here you can choose count, which will allow you to set the exact amount of objects that you want, or you can choose distance here, allowing it to be calculated across the degrees, and they even give us a nice little gizmo here to utilize as well. Now by default it'll be set to a full circle, but you can turn on arc here, and this will allow you to determine how much of that circle is actually visible. So by setting this to 90, you'll get a quarter circle array. And then lastly, we have the realize instances here, which just allows you to realize the instances for other effects. And then we have the randomize and again, the merge by distance options as well as we did on the line. Now next we have the curve option, and when we select that, you'll notice that everything disappears. And that's because we need to select a curve object here. So you can see I have a curve spiral here. And if I select this, you can see how we begin populating all along that curve. Now, again, we can choose a count method to determine exactly how many we want to appear, or a distance method based on how many we want in between. So if I go ahead and crank up this distance, you'll see that it will spread out the distance between the objects. Again, we have some of the same features as before, such as align rotation, randomize, and merge. Now, lastly, we have the transform shape. And essentially what this allows us to do is either set all the settings for the array around the transform gizmo here, which for whatever reason works a lot better than the line array, or you can set a custom object, which will operate like the old array system did. So you can see if I grab this transform gizmo here and drag it out, I can change it on the X there and rotate it around the Z axis. Or I can set a custom object here. So we will grab an empty, switch this to object mode, select our empty here, and we can use this empty to begin transforming our array. And this operates much like the legacy array did. Here I have a simple plane with a grid cut into it, and I've placed on the new instance on elements modifier. It's going to only instance on points, edges, or faces and corners. And if I come up here and grab the icosphere, you can see how those are appearing on all the vertex points, or I can set it to the edges or the faces, or as I said, there's also a corner option as well. You can choose whether you want to instance as an object or an entire collection, whether you want to keep that surface or not. And again, you can mask out with your vertex and weight maps here. Now, where instance on elements shines above scatter on surface is that we have a lot of control over where we're placing our instances. So here you can see I've created a plane with these offset edges. And what I can do is utilize these points to create a wooden plank floor with the instance on elements with an offset pattern very simply. Now we've also been given a new randomized transform modifier. And this works just like the randomized transforms we saw in scatter and surface, except this sits in its own modifier and will affect any instances above it. So if you want to apply this to your own custom node setups, you can then apply a randomized transform later with this modifier stack. If I utilize this a tiny bit, I'm going to bump up the Z value ever so slightly, toss these off a few degrees, and bump the scale. And you can see how it's created a much more worn out and random look on our objects here. And I love the flipping option down here, which allows us to flip objects individually. Here, I only have 5 planks of variety, but by flipping it, we can get a lot more varied look out of them. Now, lastly, let's take a look at the curve to tube modifier. Now, this just creates a tube around any selected curve that you have here. You can set the resolution here, and you can choose whether you want to have a round mode or a custom mode. If I grab the star here, you can see that it creates a star pattern that goes all the way around, or whatever shape you choose there. I'm going to switch this back to round here and lower my scale. And you can see down here we have resample options where it will resample the entire curve, evaluated, auto, count, length, or more. So you can control how many points you want to happen along this curve. Evaluated is probably the simplest option. And then a great feature is that with the caps, it will automatically cap off the geometry there, But what I love is that now we have the option for round caps, something that was always previously very difficult to achieve. Another amazing time-saving feature is that we now have the option for a UV map. So if I check that on, I can actually come over to my materials here. I'm going to grab something like this fabric flannel from my crafty asset pack, and you can see how it's UV unwrapped and correctly applies the pattern across the entire tube. If you'd like to learn more about building environments, I actually just did a video with a bunch of tips on creating environments in Blender. I recommend checking out that video next.